If I had high blood sugar right now, I would follow these 5 breakfast rules every day because it's often the first meal that determines what your blood sugar will be like for the rest of the day. And if your breakfast is wrong, no pills will save you from constant spikes. So rule number 1, never eat carbohydrates by themselves. The most common mistake I see diabetics make is having a breakfast made up almost entirely of fast carbs. Instant oatmeal from a packet, white bread, a bun with tea. After that, your blood sugar literally skyrockets. Why does this happen? Because fast carbs barely stay in your stomach at all. Within a few minutes, they're already in your bloodstream and cause a sharp spike in blood sugar. And every one of these spikes constantly damages your blood vessels, nerves, eyes, and kidneys. This is exactly what we're trying to avoid. So the first rule is very simple. Any carbohydrate should be paired with protein and fiber. First, choose the right kind of carbohydrate. The best options are slow-digesting grains, long-cooking oatmeal, buckwheat, brown or black rice, and pasta made from durum wheat. These are usually less processed, take longer to cook, and raise blood sugar more slowly. But oatmeal that you just need to pour boiling water over has basically already turned into flour. It is absorbed really quickly, so it's far from the best option for someone with diabetes. Now let's add some protein. This could be cottage cheese, eggs, or plain Greek yogurt without sugar. Protein slows down the absorption of carbohydrates and hardly raises blood glucose levels. And then there's fiber. The most convenient option in the morning is berries. Raspberries, blueberries, strawberries, or currant. If fresh ones are expensive, feel free to buy frozen berries. Most of the vitamins are preserved after proper freezing. As a result, you get a simple breakfast, slow-cooked oatmeal, a bit of cottage cheese, and a handful of berries. Carbohydrates are absorbed slowly, blood sugar rises gradually, and your blood vessels are under much less strain. A mistake that seems healthy. Honey is no better for a diabetic than sugar. This is one of the most persistent myths. A lot of people are convinced you can't have sugar, but honey's okay. But for the body, it's still a source of fast carbs. Yes, honey does contain some beneficial substances, but there's so little of them that it doesn't make sense for a diabetic to use honey as a sugar substitute. In terms of blood glucose levels, the difference is minimal, so honey doesn't become safe just because it's natural. Rule number 2, the more protein you have in the morning, the more stable your blood sugar will be. If you have the option to make your breakfast higher in protein, I always recommend going with that choice. For example, cottage cheese with berries, plain Greek yogurt, eggs, or an omelet with vegetables. You can add a bit of chia seeds. They provide extra fiber and help slow down the absorption of carbohydrates even more. The fundamental rule stays exactly the same. Buy natural products that have no added sugar. No curd snacks, no sweet fruit yogurts, no desserts disguised as healthy food. It's better to get plain yogurt and add berries yourself. That way, you have complete control over the amount of sugar in your breakfast. We've already covered the first 2 rules. Don't eat carbohydrates on their own, and if possible, make your breakfast more protein-rich. Now, let's move on to the tips that, for some reason, almost no one talks about, even though they can have a big impact on your blood sugar. So, rule number 3. Don't pack all your cholesterol into one breakfast. When we talk about diabetes, most people only think about sugar. But for people with diabetes, it's just as important to keep an eye on 2 other indicators, cholesterol and blood pressure. Heart attacks and strokes remain one of the main causes of complications in diabetes. That's why it's very important not to overload a single meal with a large amount of animal fats. Here's a classic example of a breakfast. Eggs, bacon, sausages, all fried in butter. Individually, these foods are not forbidden. The problem is that many people combine them all at once on one plate. This means you get several sources of cholesterol in a single meal. So the rule is simple. Let there be only one source of animal fat. For example, eggs, or a little butter, or a piece of bacon. This way you reduce the strain on your cardiovascular system, which is what most often suffers in diabetes. Rule number 4, after breakfast, make sure to get moving. A lot of people ask me how to lower their blood sugar without extra medication. And the most effective and natural way after eating is just one thing. Start moving. Our muscles are the main consumers of glucose. When you go for a walk, your muscles start working and use sugar as a source of energy. That's why even a simple walk after a meal helps make the spike in blood sugar much smaller. You don't have to go work out. Just a calm walk for 15 to 20 minutes is enough. If you feel sleepy right after breakfast, find it hard to move, and just want to lie down on the couch, most likely you simply overate. A properly chosen breakfast shouldn't leave you without energy. On the contrary, after breakfast you should actually feel like moving. In general, if I were asked to name one habit that helps people with diabetes the most, I'd say it very simply: walk as much as possible. After meals, between meals, after work, any extra activity improves insulin sensitivity and helps you control your blood sugar better. Rule number 5, it's not only what you eat that matters, but also how you cook it. Even good foods can be ruined by the way they're prepared. It's best to choose boiling, steaming, baking, or using an air fryer, and to fry food as rarely as possible. Why? First, frying almost always adds extra oil, which means extra calories and fats. Second, many foods become significantly higher in calories. For example, you can simply boil eggs. You can bake fish, and you can cook potatoes in the oven instead of frying them. I'm not saying you have to completely ban fried foods, but even if you swap out fried dishes for gentler cooking methods just a few times a week, it'll already be a big plus for your blood sugar, your weight, and your heart. Most importantly, if you put together everything we've discussed today, you get a very simple algorithm. Don't eat fast carbs on their own, add protein and fiber to them. Make your breakfast more protein-rich. Don't stack up a variety of different fatty foods onto one single plate. Don't mix together multiple fatty foods in one dish at the same time. After eating, make sure to move around a bit, and more often choose boiling or baking instead of frying. Each of these rules may seem minor on its own, but it's exactly these kinds of habits that lead to stable blood sugar, a healthy weight, and a lower risk of diabetes complications. If you start following even some of these recommendations, as soon as tomorrow morning, you'll notice changes in your numbers pretty quickly. Thank you for watching until the end. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments what your usual breakfast is. Thanks everyone. See you in the next videos. Stay healthy.